Liberia, West Africa. Over half the population fled their homes in terror during its long and bloody civil war. Some, like Winifred, ended up in these sprawling camps for displaced people. Moses, and thousands of children like him, were separated from their parents and ended up in rebel gangs, living in the bush for years. After 14 years of anarchy, the international community has arrived in force in an effort to stabilise the country. Many see this as Liberia's last chance. Liberia has endured years of destruction, characterised by marauding gangs of youths, mercenaries, and chaos. Violence rocked Africa's oldest republic in the late 1980s, when economic collapse ended in civil war. Dissidents from Charles Taylor's National Patriotic Front overran the country and executed the then president, Samuel Doe. Charles Taylor himself was elected president in 1997, but the violence continued. The crisis came to a head in July 2003. Thousands fled to the capital, Monrovia, to escape gangs in the countryside. But even the city wasn't safe. Hundreds were massacred in the streets, caught in the crossfire between rebel forces and government troops. Ordinary Liberians begged the international community to help. In the course of the war, over 1.5 million Liberians were forced from their homes, uprooted and displaced. Some fled abroad. Others, caught between the warring factions, lost their property, their homes, their families, and even their lives.
We begin a fear. So when we hear the concern, we always feel that the people are coming. So we take our luggages and begin to run. And running, sometimes straight bullet may catch someone, that the conscious, the person may die. I mean, you can't get a chance to even look by, even it's your daughter or your son, and you just have to continue moving just for you to fight for survival.
The pleas of ordinary Liberians were finally answered in August 2003, when troops from the international community arrived to oust Charles Taylor. By October, a massive UN peacekeeping mission was in place and a peace accord signed, establishing a transitional government drawn from the warring factions. Many had never held office before.
We have a difficult government to run, a government of inclusion, but by the will of God, we're trying to do our best. And one of the cardinal reasons has happened to be that all Liberians are fed up with the war. And so we say we have to put a halt to this nonsense.
The international community should be ashamed of itself that for 24 years they stood by while there was murder, mayhem, rape, and chaos here, and they did nothing. It was only once the whole of the West African region, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Cote d'Ivoire, began to fall apart, that someone finally said, look, Liberia is the problem. Charles Taylor is the problem in Liberia. We need to do something, and we need to do something now. We have a country here of, 3.3 million people. The economy is totally destroyed. By that I mean there is no electrical grid, telephone system, street addresses, postal service, and Monrovia is still a city of 1 million people without water or electricity.
Today, Liberia is a country holding its breath. In December 2003, the first attempt to disarm and demobilize warring factions was overwhelmed by the huge numbers of combatants wanting to hand in their weapons. A second attempt is now well underway. Over 14,000 UN troops from 49 countries have been deployed to demobilize up to 45,000 combatants. It's a concerted effort to encourage all the fighters to finally hand in their weapons.
Disarm today to unmute and live a better life.
This message is brought to you by the Public Information Section of the United Nations Mission in Liberia.
Today, UNMIL, the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Liberia, is the largest peacekeeping mission in the world.
Without the demobilization, demilitarization, there is no stability, there is no safe and secure environment, there is no refugee return, there is no displaced person return, and ultimately the process comes to a stall.
Disarmament is taking place in the countryside, where most of the former combatants still live. Large groups roam the country roads, walking for hours to hand in their weapons and go through the process of demobilization. These men have been fighting in the bush for years. Tension remains high. Every morning, the military pickup points are crowded with men and women waiting to be taken through the process of demilitarization. With so many people caught up in the fighting, it's hard to know just how many combatants there really were and how many need to be disarmed. Rebel leaders are cooperating with the UN forces to verify their fighters. Babyface is a former rebel commander.
Tomorrow I'm expecting it, so that's why I want to get all and report everything. If one is missing, I'll answer question for you.
The United Nations forces face a tough challenge cutting through the paramilitary command structures and maintaining calm. Once they've handed in their weapons, they need to find new ways of occupying themselves and earning a living. A fact that Magnet, another rebel leader, understands only too well.
We are talking about next plan after leaving an arm. It's the meeting we are telling you now to help all 40 men. Because we have so many people. You know, education, trade, data, medical, whatsoever.
$20,000 weapons and nearly 5 million rounds of small arms ammunition have been handed in to date. It takes just 2 days to fill up this container, and there are about 20 other sites like this. With every fighter thought to have at least 3 weapons, there are still many more to come to light. Children, both boys and girls, formed a large part of the warring factions. This boy had been living with rebel fighters since he was 6 years old. His real name cannot be revealed to protect his identity. We have called him Moses.
What, your age?
How many years old?
21.
Huh?
Huh?
21.
31?
No, you can't be 31. That's too much.
21.
10 and 1.
Oh, 10 and 1, 11 years. Good.
11 years.
These children, too, are going through the difficult process of demobilization.
Children are used because they are easy to manipulate. You catch them, force them to do things, you order them to do things, and they do it perfectly, without questions. So children have been very easy target for these people. That's why we have many children. And besides, most of the grown-ups, they are lost in war. Children, 8 years old, use these weapons. Imagine, 8 years old.
Babyface. Yeah. How are you doing? Fine. This is RPG. All right. You go through this one.
Once they're disarmed, all the adult ex-combatants go to a cantonment camp for 5 days. Here they get processed and are given some ideas for their future. The children are taken to a separate camp immediately to break the link with their commanders.
Some have been caught up in the war. You know, when the war hit like that, they are separated from their parents.
And the only people that they see are these commandants that they get recruited, you know. Well, there are various kind of atrocities, even though some haven't really come out yet to say what they are, you know. But some have been used as ammunition carriers, you know. Some have been fighting themselves, child soldiers. Some have been cooks. Some have been wives to them.
War start coming here, and the big people that can hold in the town. They made a money, made a home of Pharaoh, me and my brothers divided.
We were fighting. Our Google friend was behind. Most of them died. My own brothers, they died to the player brother.
Each person, two person who smoking now one way. Everybody happy now. Oh, you going to go down? You're not going to go down. I think now.
I follow behind them, come in, they cheated. And say, hey, my begin, why brother? I said, the robot definitely home, my brother. And say, okay, you will be with me. I say, I will be with you. That made me no insurance.
They capture one person, they push out the person in front of me. That made me scared.
They used to hold there, they put in the horse, they burn it. For you to find one horse, they say, ha. While they play breeder, they burn the whole area.
These children, they look like normal children, you know, but they have, I don't know, so much sorrow inside, so much hurt inside. And once you start talking to them, you know they are hurt. We want these children to be reintegrated in the society, and we need to teach them how to live again. So we have to help them to reunify them with their families. It's like if we don't protect them in this land, they will be street children. They will be left on their own. They will be left to fend for themselves. And then probably there will be a recurrence of this incident again.
It's difficult for children caught up in the fighting to adjust to their new lives. But with half of the country's population still displaced, ordinary Liberians too are desperate to start rebuilding their lives.
So far, the total of 6,475 people have been disarmed during the second phase of the DDR program. So that's in 60
After more than a decade of civil war, most Liberians still live away from their original settlements. Some live in makeshift accommodation in Monrovia, hospitals, old hotels and schools. 500,000 people live in internal displacement camps. There are 24 official and a further 15 unofficial camps throughout the country. These camps sprang up overnight. When one camp was attacked, the residents fled and set up another. Most camps now house about 20,000 residents in cramped conditions. Camp residents can't work or earn a living and are completely dependent on food supplies from international agencies. Internally displaced people here are desperate to go home. But for now, they are waiting and listening to see how successful the demobilization is.
And join the United Nations and other friends of Liberia to rebuild those things we have destroyed. We the young people...
260 people coming in. There were 33,000 small arms rounds that came in yesterday, plus the requisite amount of unexploded ordnance, mortars, hand
Thomas Kessley, Winifred and their family were forced to move camp 6 times in 8 years. Like many others, Winifred lost members of her family when she was fleeing an armed attack.
Due to the serious attack and the gunshot, the sound that we're hearing, we all became confused and we just checked that. So we never knew where we were. It was due to the same war that I have to lose my little brother and my sister, even my parents.
Winifred's desperate for the violence to end. She's tired of war. She just wants to find her family and go home.
If they are finished with this armament, then it means my brothers or friends they will not be having arms again to attack me, to take my property, to kill me. If they disarm them, then we are all the same. Then violence has stopped.
Close to the disarmament site, back in central Liberia, Moses has been brought to this interim care centre with over 100 other boys. It's just one of 28 care centres that exist to house both boys and girls while they wait to be resettled.
We need to de-traumatize them. They are highly traumatized. We have to counsel them. They should feel at home. They should feel wanted once more in the society. We are trying to make them to get that sense of reasoning before letting them go back into the community, because when they were in the community, they caused a lot of problems. So we have to come and prepare them from there, then go back to the community and prepare the community so they can accept them within the community.
My name is Charles, my name is Charles, and what's about you?
But it's not just the children who need to be rehabilitated. The community, too, needs to be able to accept their return. How will these children, and their adult ex-combatant counterparts, be accepted back into society? Many have, after all, been forced to murder, rape, and pillage from neighbours who they will see every day.
We have to forgive our brothers and children because the money never took it intentionally. So we just have to forgive them just for us to be having peace in this country. Because if we say we'll go against them, then means the same tribal war will continue. It was not their fault per se. And they had a choice that they beating your mother or your sister, raping your wife, killing your children, and you feel within yourself, so definitely I will join because I want to save my people. So I will join in. It was not their fault. So we just have to forgive one another.
First step on the road to rehabilitation is reuniting the children caught up in fighting with their families. Milton Gertie from the International Red Cross is trying to help Moses find his mother.
You're looking for your family, right? Okay. Well, you know what time you were born?
Me? No.
Huh?
No.
You don't know the year you were born?
I don't know the year when I was born.
Now, in a situation, who you think you want us to help you find? To tell them that you're here, and if you want to go, who you want to go to?
My mom.
Your mom? Okay. Many children got lost based on the circumstances, and they got lost. Even because of the low education provided to the children. Some of the children don't know the fixed address of their parents, even the hometown they come from. So we, in tracing, are finding it difficult to even find some of the parents. This is why some of the cases have to take a long time.
While Moses remains in limbo, Winifred is starting to see the possibilities for her future after the war. As part of a nationwide program, she and others in her camp are being registered to see where they want to settle when the demobilization process is complete and what they hope to do in the future. Peace will only last in Liberia if people can go home in safety and have a means of standing on their own 2 feet. Winifred's dreams of finding her family again are also becoming a reality. While we were filming, she was finally, after 5 long years, reunited with her brother Anthony and sister Helena.
I'm very happy to receive my brother and sister. And now we want to go home to our parents and we all live together happily. Till I have to hug now. Oh, hug me. I'll come together.
Rebuilding Liberia is a major challenge. 500,000 people like Winifred, living in camps, need to be resettled and given the chance of a new start. The country itself needs to be almost entirely rebuilt. At present, the country is almost totally dependent on foreign aid. The international community has pledged funding support, but not yet delivered all of it. Liberia needs to start earning its way and encouraging foreign investment.
Unless we demobilize and demilitarize, the whole process fails. We're trying to find every possible way we can to breach that gap between demilitarization, demobilization, and reintegrate society. Why? You don't want mafia gangs or young people disenfranchised out there with nothing to do. Because I think many of these people who pledge money are waiting to see how successful will this be.
The transitional government has a term of just 2 years, and within that time it must oversee the disarmament process, resettle its citizens, hold free and fair elections, and get the country back to work.
One of the fundamental problems we have today is the lack of jobs. Everybody is yearning for money, and the government here is relying almost entirely on the goodwill of the international community. We need to put our people back to work. We need to put them back to work. There's no way out.
This is a country of 3.3 million people. It has enormous assets: lumber, diamonds, gold, 8.5 million rubber trees, and only 15% of the arable land is utilized. It could be a very rich little place.
With more than 59,000 fighters demobilized in the last 3 months, and another 15,000 waiting to follow, the priority for Liberia today is to find a way of engaging them in rebuilding their country, to sustain the peace, so that individuals like Winifred and Moses can have a future to look forward to and can finally go home.
The war is over.